Alright guys, so today we're going to work on fixing tire rub, which we've had ever since putting on 33-inch tires with no lift. We're going to start out by taking off the front bumper, then we're going to diagnose the issue, figure out where the rub's going on, and then we're going to fix it. Alright, for taking off your front bumper, all you need is a 10mm socket, a 14mm socket, and a flathead screwdriver. And we're going to start with taking off, there's 2 bolts on top of the grill. We'll take these off real quick. Alright, so this next bolt is down here. It's also a 10mm. It's a little bit offset to make it easier to work with. Loosen that up. Take it out. Make sure to keep your bolts somewhere where they're not going to get lost. And of course you're working in tight quarters, so it's always a good place to bust your knuckles up. Alright, got 2 bolts that are out. Alright, so after you pull out those 2 10mm bolts, now you're going to take out these rivets. You do that with a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver. So here's how you do it. Come over to it. There's a little slot. Put your screwdriver in and you just pull up. And it shouldn't do that. Now there's 2 on top and there's 4 on the bottom part. So we're just going to do that real quick. Careful not to lose these ones either. Alright, so now we have 6 rivets that have been taken out. If you have Raptor lights, you want to go ahead and disconnect those now. Get that wire out of the way. Okay, so now we're going to move on to actually taking out the bolts for the front bumper. And there's going to be, on my setup, since I have the slimline bumper, there's only 4 that are 14mm on the bottom. And then there's 10mm screws that hold the bumper, the fender liner against the bumper. All right, now we're going to take out the 2 14mm bolts on the bottom of the bumper. So go ahead and grab your ratchet. Make sure to keep track of that bolt as well. And then take this one out. Alright, now we have the 2 14mm bolts out. Now we're going to take out the 3 10mm screws that hold the fender liner against the plastic bumper. Alright, same process for the driver's side. It's 2 14mm bolts and 3 10mm screws. Alright, so we've got all the bolts and screws out that hold the bumper together. We're going to peel it back carefully. We're going to disconnect the fog lights and then we're ready to go. Alright, so to peel back the bumper, you're going to pull it out and then away. So take 2 hands, pop it up over the edge of the plastic. Okay. Don't forget, you have your fog lights. If you have fog lights that are hooked up right here. So we're going to disconnect these like so. That might be hard sometimes if you get mud in there. So a trick that I use is I spray some water on it, let it soak for a minute, and it pops right out. Alright, same process for the passenger side. Just pull the plastic out. I'm going to take care of the running lights, the fog lights. Just pull that clip out. This clip has a little bit of an issue, so you push down on it. like so.
You're right.
All right, now you can do the fun part and just pick up and pull it out. Now you want to put this somewhere where it's not going to fall on the ground and scratch the front. So we'll put it against the wall over here. All right, so after taking the bumper off, you can see right here where the issue is. It broke this fender liner right there, and also broke this little hole where it bolts into this support for the slimline bumper. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this forward as far as we can. We're gonna drill new holes here and then zip tie this part of the fender liner forward. That way it should at least reduce some of the rubbing. All right, so we're gonna start out with a small pilot hole. I'm gonna pull this forward nice and hard. I'm gonna drill through the same hole. Okay, this stuff's not easy to drill through, but starting out small is the best way to do it. Okay, that lines up. Now we'll get the right size bit. All right, there we go. Got a new spot for a zip tie to go through, help bring forward that part of the fender and prevent rubbing. So now we're going to add an additional point to add a zip tie to help reduce issues with rubbing. So let's see how this goes. Gotta be really careful. Right here's the windshield wiper reservoir. So we're gonna try to miss that. All right, so I just want to explain what I did in that last part of the clip. And I drilled holes in the fender liner and also in this little mounting bracket. So I pulled the fender liner forward and re-drilled the hole right here that goes into the support mount. I drilled a hole in the middle of that same support and added a zip tie point where it helps bring that fender liner forward. This back here was broken, so that one's fine. Then I drilled a hole up here in this little bracket that holds the windshield wiper reservoir, and that adds a point for the zip ties where it brings the fender liner forward here in the midpoint to help reduce rubbing. All right, now we're on the driver's side, and as you can tell, the setup's a little bit different just because there's no windshield wiper reservoir. So what I did here is I drilled a hole again in the middle of this support to add a zip tie to help bring the fender liner forward, and then I also added a point right here, and I only had to drill a hole through the fender liner itself. This helps bring the middle of it up again to help avoid rubbing. Make sure to cut off the zip ties flat, that way you don't piss off your mechanic. Perfect. All right, I think we're ready to put the bumper back together, and we're gonna test it and see if it fixed the rubbing issue. Line it back up carefully. Make sure you hook back up your fog lights. Okay, all hooked back up. Now I'll just kind of push it back into place. Okay, so we're gonna start out with the 14mm bolts first, and then go to the 10mm screws. Can you do me a favor? Mm-hmm. Up there's another bolt. Ooh, 14mm.
14mm.
Since the truck is clean, I'm lucking out, but if you haven't pressure washed your truck lately, you might be getting a lot of sand in your eyes, so always wear eye protection when you need to. Okay, it looks like everything's in position. Now we'll move to the 10mm screws. Okay, now since we use that zip tie to pull the fender liner forward, it's not going to use the bottom screw, so we'll only be using 2 out of 3 of these 10mm screws. So we'll start with the middle, and we'll do the top one. So you kind of pinch the liner against this part of the fender, get it lined up, and then start tightening. Put some fresh zip ties on. Heavy duty cable ties. These are off-roading cable ties.
The RLT.
RLT edition cable ties. Let's go ahead and put this somewhere where it's not going to be in the way, not be visible. Alright, so we're done putting the bumper back on. Let's go see if we fixed the rubbing issue. Alright, that was full lockout going forward, no rub. Alright, now backing up, full steering lock. No rub. I think our issue is solved. Alright, so our initial testing was successful. We no longer have tire rub. If this video was helpful to you, hit the like button, share with your friends, and subscribe for more. See you next time.